We have some major college football news. I'm your host, Harrison Graham, here on College Football Now by Chat Sports. The USC football program is looking for a new head coach because AD Mike Bohn has fired Clay Helton as the head man at USC. Started 1-1 this year, but a 42-28 loss to Stanford was not something that was going to fly in Los Angeles. So in 6+ seasons, Helton is out at Southern Cal. Goes 46-24 in his tenure. Some good, some not so good. Probably should have parted ways with him about a year and a half ago. They decided not to, and so now, 2 games into the 2021 season, they are looking for a new head coach. Associate head coach Dante Williams will be the interim head coach for the remainder of this current season. When it comes down to it, you can't get blown out by Stanford after Stanford gets blown out by Kansas State. That's just not going to fly, especially with Helton already on the hot seat entering this season. I'm not surprised to see this move. The USC tradition of firing coaches midseason continues once again in 2021, and now they are looking for a new head coach for the University of Southern California. So I'm going to go and break down my top 10 candidates based on some coaches that I think make sense, but also some buzz that we're hearing already about who could be in the mix at USC. So who will be the next head coach for Southern Cal? Let me know down in the comments section. We'll make this the pinned comment on today's video, so scroll on down and get your votes in. We'll go reveal style here. At number 10, we'll go from 10 to 9 here. How about former Oklahoma head coach Bob Stoops? I've seen this name mentioned. Pete Thamel threw his name out there. I don't think this is happening. I won't say it's 0% chance, but I'd put it at less than 5. I think Stoops is very comfortable hanging out making money from Fox. I really do. He's part of that big noon kickoff pregame show with Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush, and the boys, and I think he's comfortable. He's been considered in the last few years for other jobs, I believe, or at least contacted since Lincoln Riley took over in Norman. Stoops still values the relationship he has with the Oklahoma football program. So I won't say he'll never be a major head coach again in college football. I don't think right now is the time, though. I don't think it's going to happen. But is he worth a phone call? Probably. At number 9, how about Tony Elliott, the Clemson offensive coordinator? His name has surfaced in recent years and recent coaching cycles. I don't know if Elliott is the direction I would go in if I was USC. I know it's just one game. I was not impressed with how he adjusted on the fly in Clemson's season opener this year with DJ Uiagalelei. Still think he's a good offensive mind. Still think he'll get a chance in the future, but I've got him at number 9 on my list. Not as high as some of these other candidates, in my opinion. Another former big-time college football coach, Chris Petersen, the former head coach at Washington, and then, of course, before that, Boise State, where he put Boise on the map big time. Don't sleep on Petersen here. Now, like Stoops, I don't think it's very likely, but I do think it's a little more likely than that one. Plus, the West Coast thing makes sense, right? Goes from Boise to Washington, takes Washington to the Pac-12 playoff, leaves that program in pretty good hands. You know, Pac-12 experience, they've hired a Washington coach before when they brought in Steve Sarkisian. That obviously did not work out that well, but don't sleep on Petersen here. I think there's a chance he could jump back into the mix. Who's the better coach? The better former coach, we should say. Type BS for Bob Stoops. Type CP for Chris Petersen. What do you guys think? Who is the better coach and the better option for Southern Cal? All right, as we continue to go through our Clay Helton replacements here on what day of the week is it? Monday at Chat Sports. Greg Schiano, the Rutgers head coach. He's been brilliant, man. He's got things flowing at Rutgers again. Rutgers' program was dead. They're 2-0 this year. They played pretty well last year in his first season in New York. Greg Schiano can coach. He really can. I think Tennessee made a mistake by not hiring him several years ago when Clay Travis helped spearhead a Greg Schiano, whatever tour you want to call it. That thing ended up falling apart, so he bounces around a bit as an assistant. Now he's at Rutgers, and he's been great. Second tenure at Rutgers, they're winning again. He's recruiting well. I don't know if he has any West Coast ties, that makes sense, but I know he can coach, so I think he's definitely worth a look. At number 6, Bill O'Brien. And a lot of you guys are probably going to say, Bill O'Brien, come on, he was a joke for the Houston Texans. Well, maybe he's just not an NFL head coach. I mean, maybe that's the case. He's already got he's picking up where Steve Sarkisian left off at Alabama as the offensive coordinator there. Now, can you sell Bill O'Brien? That's the question. Had success at Penn State. You know, as much as we like to make fun of him for the Houston Texans, they did win some. They went to the playoffs, and, you know, maybe he shouldn't have been in charge of player personnel. He should have just been the coach. Can you sell O'Brien this soon? You know, that's a fair question to ask. Maybe it's a little too soon for him to get back into the major head coaching game in college football, but he's a good offensive mind, and USC does need to get more consistent offense and, of course, get better on defense, because that showing against Stanford was not good at all. We'll get into my top 5 here in a few moments. This is my not going to happen list. No way Lane Kiffin would go back there. There's just no way that happens. They already fired him once. Tom Herman, not going to happen. He's a Bears analyst right now for the Chicago Bears, where he's basically just doing video review. That did not work out at Texas. Art Briles, no way. I just do not see him ever getting a head coaching job in college football again. And then Pete Carroll, it would be interesting. He's older now, though. I don't know if he wants to take on a new challenge at this point. I think he's doing pretty well with the Seattle Seahawks. If you want more college football coverage, well, subscribe today. You see the link below. It's youtube.com/chatsportstv. I love college football. It's my favorite sport. I'd love to do more videos for you guys. So if we get more subscribers on this video, maybe we can crank out some more college football coverage for you guys. So subscribe and let us know if you want more videos. Let's get into my top 5 Clay Helton replacements. How about Hugh Freeze at Liberty? Unlike Art Briles, I think Hugh Freeze will have a chance at some point to be a major Power 5 head coach again. You know, it's a little bit of a different situation in terms of his baggage compared to Briles. Briles was involved in a university that helped cover up several sexual assaults. Hugh Freeze just liked, hanging out with strippers and stuff. It's not a great look. It's certainly not, but it's a little bit different than what Art Briles was doing. He's rebuilding the image. I don't know if it's quite there yet, but I do think he will get another opportunity at some point. How about Luke Fickell, number 4 on my list? The Cincinnati head coach. Now, I do wonder, and by the way, USC AD Mike Bohn hired Fickell at Cincinnati. I think that is notable. I think that is something worth mentioning in this video, so there is the connection there. I do wonder, though, does Cincinnati, now jumping into the Big 12 in a couple of years as a Power 5 program, does that allow Fickell to be more patient on wanting to make a jump to a bigger job? I'm almost 100% convinced he wants the Ohio State job. If Ryan Day ever leaves or gets fired or whatever, he wants that job. But Ryan Day could be there for the next 25 years. So if you're Fickell, do you make this jump to USC if you get offered? If Mike Bohn comes calling, do you wait, play things out, and maybe carry Cincinnati to a college football playoff in a couple of years if they're competing in the Big 12? We'll see. He will certainly have some options over the next couple of years. Is USC still a top 10 program? Right now, can you name 10 programs better than USC? If you can't, then the answer is yes here. That means they are a top 10 program. If you don't think they are, which I think there's a decent argument they're not at this point, then type in for no. Get your votes in. Is USC still a top 10 program? All right, top 3 we go. Freeze at 4, Freeze at 5, Fickell at 4, and now Matt Campbell at number 3, the Iowa State head coach. Obviously, he can't get over the Iowa hump in that rivalry, but Matt Campbell has done wonders for Iowa State. I think, and I don't have sources that would tell me this, I think this would be the time Matt Campbell would jump if he got offered this job. And here's why. Number 1, while I just mentioned the Big 12, added Cincinnati, and, could still be a Power 5 conference, we'll see how that plays out. The Big 12's future is a little dicey. Do you want to stay at Iowa State and see how it plays out? Number 2, Iowa State is a very old team. He could be entering a transition year next year, and then you could risk going 5-7, 6-6, 7-5. Maybe it makes sense to finish this year strong and then make the jump. if USC comes calling, if the Michigan job opens up. I think Matt Campbell could look at this in a calculated way and say, okay, I'm losing a lot of good players at Iowa State after this season. I'm going to go ahead and make the jump. I believe he would heavily consider that. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see. Number 2, Mario Cristobal, the best coach in the Pac-12 right now, or at least a good argument for it, out at Oregon. He's got it rolling with the Ducks in Eugene. This would feel not slimy, but just not. It would feel weird to me if he left Oregon for USC. I think he's got Oregon in a better place as a program right now. Now, historically, SC is the better program, but there's a decent argument that Oregon's a better job right now. So I'll ask you guys, what is the better job at this exact moment in time? Type USC for USC, obviously. Type ORE for Oregon. It's a tough call. I think the ceiling of USC is still a little bit higher, but make no mistake, Oregon's a top 20 college football job. Maybe it's not top 10, but Cristobal's got things rolling. He's doing great on the recruiting trail. This will be an interesting one if he's considered as a candidate for USC. And then number 1, and the most buzz we're hearing early on, and again, we're filming this just in about an hour or two after Helton got fired, is James Franklin, at the Penn State head coach. A lot of buzz early on around Franklin here that he could be their top candidate. He's done well in the Big Ten. Obviously, he hasn't quite been able to, get past the Ohio State hump. He's beaten them once or twice, but overall, Ohio State is still running the Big Ten. But Penn State has been the second most consistent program in that conference since he took over. Maybe Wisconsin's close, but he's been really good. He's recruited well. He played USC very close in a Rose Bowl a few years ago in that epic battle between Sam Darnold and Trace McSorley. A lot of buzz early on here. I like James Franklin. I don't love him. I don't know if he would be my absolute number 1 candidate. This is more of a combination of what we're hearing so far. Plus, he is a good candidate still, so I put him at number 1. Lots of buzz, so keep an eye on the Penn State head coach. So there you have it. That's my top 10, candidates to look at for the USC job. Maybe some other guys get in the mix. Did Jamie Caldwell, the Coastal coach, get in the mix? We'll see. I'm not so sure if he's ready for that leap. Who will be the next head coach at USC? That is the question for you guys. Let us know down in the comments. And again, if you want more college football videos, hit that subscribe button. It's youtube.com/chatsportstv.